Today on the DML News Podcast, Donald Trump is just, oh my goodness, is he doing wonderful. And the Democrats are running scared. Kash Patel is in, and the Democrats are running super scared. We're going to talk about this, a whole bunch of stuff today, coming right off the 47 report. Get ready, because it's all unfiltered.
Dennis Michael Lynch gives you his word, and he will never let you down. He will always fight for America.
The only one who really puts his money where his mouth is Dennis Michael Lynch.
Hello, I'm Dennis Michael Lynch, and I thank you for joining me today. Across from me is my son, Denny. On the controls is my son, Ryan. We come to you here proudly every single day. We talk to you about the Trump administration and all the great things that are happening in order to make America great again. This program, as every single day, is the same, meaning that we always inspire it based on what you will see on the 47 report, 47report.com. That is our newsletter. It goes out 7 days a week. It's always in your inbox before 7 a.m. Eastern, many times before 6. Today it was in there at 5 a.m. We work around the clock 7 days a week, bringing you the #1 newsletter in the nation for Trump. That means that you're going to get every bit of information that is happening that you're not going to get anywhere else, not collectively anyway. And then on top of that, we give you a whole section on Congress, what they're doing with Trump. We give you something a little bit about Vice President Vance. And then we give you what is called the crazy left section. You get all the things that the left are doing to try to curb Trump, to try to sideline Trump. We're going to talk about some of that today. So go to 47report.com, put your email address in. That's all you have to do. Presto. Tomorrow morning, you're going to see us in your inbox. If you don't, go to spam, because the scumbags who run these email services, they're all lefties, and they're trying to crush us. But when you turn around and go into spam and you pull it in and say, I want this every single day, you are fighting back against that establishment. And then if you go the next level and you actually share the newsletter, not only do we give away free gifts for people who do that, but you are spreading the word of MAGA, about Make America Great Again, and people are going to be able to understand what truly is happening, because what I'm going to open up the show right now today is going to be about how it is that the left is now strategizing to stop this incredible movement that we've seen for the first 30 days. Before I get into that, let me just give you a little heads up. Today, I'm going to be a little punch drunk. I may stumble over my words a little bit. I am going on about 1 hour's sleep. I spent the entire day yesterday and night in the emergency room at the Mayo Clinic. What a great hospital. I'll talk about that at the end of the show. With that being said, let's start off. I'm going to play a video in about 2 seconds here from James Carville. Now, if you don't know who James Carville is, he has been a Democrat operative for his entire life. He's from Louisiana. He's got that little twang going, but he is ultimately two things. First of all, the most closest looking thing to E.T. that you've ever seen in your life. And then secondly, he is somebody that has been well respected in the Democrat Party. He tells Sean Hannity last night that the poll numbers for Donald J. Trump are dropping and that he is going to implode. Ryan, get that video. Let's play that video, and then we're going to start talking about it. Go.
We went with our 7th-string quarterback, and we lost by 1.5 points, and we actually picked up a congressional seat. So if you're asking me, did I think that she was going to win, and she didn't win? Yes, all the polling showed it even. It turned out to be a 1.5 point race. And you lost seats, but if you have, and I'm telling the Democrats, just sit there, play possum, let them go, let them go, let them go. Poll numbers are declining. The collapse is already underway. Let's see when they put the Medicaid budget, when they put the $4.5 trillion of tax cuts to wealthy people, just let the ball come to you. We don't need to be aggressive now.
Let me tell you something about old E.T. over there, which he doesn't get, okay? First of all, he told people that Kamala Harris was going to win. So that discounts everything to begin with. Secondly, he goes against what every common sense person in this country knows, and that is polls are useless. Completely useless. If polls were true, Donald J. Trump would have never won in 2016. Donald J. Trump would have never, ever have won 2020. The polls always are manipulated, and it's ET over there, people like him, who are the ones who manipulate these polls. And if you think by any stretch of the imagination that that was an authentic interview, you are wrong. The fact that Sean Hannity even gives that guy a platform is reason to tell Hannity to pack your bags, retire. You're too long into this whole game, okay? That man right there is playing what's called messaging games. And here's the message. The Democrats know that what Donald Trump is doing is going to fundamentally change this country back to where it was prior to the days of Barack Obama, who tried to fundamentally transform it into something that none of us could recognize. Donald J. Trump is doing what needs to be done. He is going through this country with a wrecking ball. Now, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, is there going to be a person at the CDC or a person at the VA or a person somewhere along the way who's going to lose a job that shouldn't have lost a job? Absolutely. Will that end up correcting itself? Absolutely. There's going to be a little bit of collateral damage. You cannot go in. Imagine the fireman who's coming to your house that's on fire. He's going to come in, he's going to have to break some windows, he's going to have to break some doors in order to get in and stop the whole house from burning down. So yeah, you're going to have to make some replacements. But at the end of the day, he saved your family and he saved your home. And that's what this is. You Democrats, according to ET over here, sit back, just be a possum, just sit back. Yes, sit back. Sit back and watch the show because there's nothing else you're going to be able to do about it. Now, let me tell you why the Democrats are doing this. They're trying to say the poll numbers are down. They're trying to break Trump's momentum. They're trying to say people don't like what's happening. They're trying to throw a wrench into Trump's psyche, but Trump's been around too long. He understands the game they play. Number two is they're trying to create a false narrative that the vast majority of Americans don't like to see their country be upside down, inside out, getting back to a place to where it is the white picket fence. So this narrative is going to be spreading, and that's why, and I know this sounds a little sales pitchy, but at the end of the day, you're listening to this today because you care about your country. The reason why we designed the 47 report the way we did, and we could have done it 15 different ways to Sunday, but we said we need to focus in on every little thing that this Trump administration is doing so people feel like they've got the real news, they've got the real story, and even as small as something like, hey, there's going to be an 8% cut at the Pentagon, you may say to yourself, oh, all right, that's nice, but do I really need to know? You do. You want to know why? Because as we reported yesterday, that 8% cut at the Pentagon may actually save your life because we need to create an iron dome on this country to protect ourselves from something like an EMP, which we'll talk about maybe later in the show. Dennis, make a reminder to me. That is something that's life-saving, generational saving, maybe country saving, and maybe life as we know it saving. So although at the very surface that 8% cut doesn't sound like a whole lot, it's better if you know about it than you don't, and nobody else is ever going to tell you. No, instead what you're going to have is ET is going to tell you about how people don't like it, that people are losing their jobs. Jobs. You know what kind of jobs we're cutting? DEI jobs. People are crying in the streets because they're losing their jobs about studying about why it is pigs should have gender surgeries in order to prove that little girls should do it too. It's so crazy. Now, let me tell you another reason why it is that these people want to see Trump be side-railed and why they want to say that he's unpopular, and they want to stop him. They want to get him off this track that he's on. They want to make it into Trump's brain that, hey, man, what you're doing isn't working. Pam Bondi is the AG of this country. She's sharp as a tack. And the American people have forever waited to know who is on the Jeffrey Epstein list. Who is it? Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Adam Schiff? Who is on that list? We deserve to know. Also, what about P. Diddy? Right? The big pop star, whatever he is. What do they call that garbage? Hip hop star, right? Accused of raping girls. We've seen videos of him beating girls. He's had parties. We know that there are some heavy hitters at those parties who are doing things with young girls. We want to see the list. And that list is going to come out. Here is Pam Bondi in her own words telling you that it is basically imminent.
Scaring bad guys is something Kash has talked about a lot, and you have when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the people who are like predators in this country. Yeah. They've been given a pass, and a lot of Americans think these guys got a pass for a long time and maybe even are still being protected right now. Where are we at with the Jeffrey Epstein list, the documents? And Kash has made a lot of public statements about this. Where are we at?
I was briefed on that yesterday. I can't talk about that publicly, but President Trump has given a very strong directive, and that's going to be followed.
Wow. Okay. So
a lot of documents.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So people can expect actual movement on this. It's not just empty promises.
Oh, Donald Trump doesn't make empty promises. Yeah, right. I think promises made, promises kept, and that's why we're all there to carry out his directive about making America safe and prosperous.
Yeah, those lists are coming. They're coming in the same way that the cuts at USAID are coming, in the same way that now we're going to be auditing Fort Knox to make sure that the gold is really there. We're going to be doing all of it. And the Democrats hate it because forever they have been lying and just destroying this country from within. And that's why for so long, for so many years now, you've been saying, what happened? That's the question everybody's asked. What happened? What happened to America? What happened? Exactly what happened. We closed our eyes and let everybody go do whatever the hell they wanted. And now Trump is in there. He's opening everybody's eyes up and he's giving all the exposure and the transparency that everybody should want. And there are going to be a lot of people who are going to fall. Now I'll give you something as simple as sports, where the fundamental change is coming. Where was it? When was it that somebody said we should allow boys to play in girls' sports? We should allow boys to pummel over girls. It has forever been sort of society's thing that boys protect girls. And point blank is we're bigger and we're stronger. That's the way God created us. Girls, you're prettier and you're a whole lot smarter. But why and where did it start that boys were going to go in and dominate girls? You got a little girl who's doing swimming her entire life, softball her entire life, whatever the sport is her entire life. She gets up to the high school rank, and now she's got to go up against a 6'5" guy who couldn't make it on the guys' team, but now he's going to be able to dominate the girls. Donald J. Trump is in office right now protecting every single one of our daughters as if it is his granddaughter. And so he's put out his executive orders that you are not going to allow transgenders, you are not going to allow men to go in and do this and abuse young girls. You're not going to do it. The state of Maine isn't listening. Now, maybe you don't think this is a big, huge thing in your life. E.T. just told Hannity last night that he doesn't know anybody who really gives a damn about this kind of transgender and sports stuff. They care more about Medicaid, Medicare, and all this other different jazz. Let me tell you something. This is how disconnected that extraterrestrial is. The number one thing I care about in my life are my 4 children, and 2 of them are daughters. And I can tell you, if that there was a man, and my daughter plays lacrosse, she's 16 years old. If there was a man, a young boy, who is at 16, 17 years old, thinking that he's a girl, not only is he highly confused, but he's highly dangerous. And if I knew that that kid was in a locker room getting naked with my daughter, and then other guys were on the lacrosse team hitting and slamming her as if she was another guy, I can tell you right now, I wouldn't care about health care. I wouldn't care about the border. I wouldn't care about how much money I make at work. My number one concern would be to protect my daughter. And the fact that E.T. doesn't know it is why he should be on a spaceship sent to somewhere to Mars in a one-way ticket. Now, with that being said, President Trump has now made a warning to Maine. Oh, really? You're not going to listen to my executive order? Okay, I'm coming. Play the video.
I heard men are still playing in Maine. Is anybody here from Maine? Who is that? Is that the governor? That's, well, I hate to tell you this, but we're not going to give them any federal money. They are still saying we want men to play in women's sports, and I cannot believe that they're doing that. They are, let's find out who that guy is that raised his hand. Maybe he's just kidding. But so we're not going to give him any federal funding, none whatsoever, until they clean that up.
By the way, before I go on, if you're on Facebook right now, hit the share button. If you're on Rumble, hit the share button. If you're on X, hit the share button. Get it out there, retweet it, do everything. Get everybody knowing what's going on here in this country. Now, getting back to Trump here for a second. I told you at the beginning of the year, just before Trump took office, that this was going to take time. And I told you yesterday when I was on the show here and I was dialed in by phone, it's going to take time. You are not going to feel the positive impacts in your wallet for many, many months. Economies just don't, this is like the Titanic in the sense that you see the iceberg and it's a slow turn. Only thing is Joe Biden hit the accelerator, and what Trump is having to do is hit the brakes, reverse the ship, turn the ship to get around for the iceberg. It doesn't just happen in a day. We're going to start to see the positive impacts of all of what he's doing right now in 8-9 months. And if you don't believe me, think of Trump as a builder. Day one, when he breaks dirt on a new building, you can't see what it is that he sees in his head. And then it's messy and it's noisy and there's cranes coming in and there's material all over the place. And you're like, oh my God, this construction, how long until I got to wait? And then all of a sudden, a year later, you look at this thing and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. You're like, my goodness. And you don't even remember about the building stuff that took place because it's so gorgeous, it erases the memory of all the bad stuff. That's what's happening right now. He's building a brand new America. He's building back what we once had, and it's going to be a little messy and it's going to take a little time. J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States, was at a convention yesterday for conservatives, and he said this very same thing. So if you don't want to hear it from me, let's hear it from him. Play it.
Interviews I did, it was, I think, 6 or 7 days after the inauguration, and somebody asked me, well, it's been 6 days. What have you guys done to fix the inflation crisis created by Joe Biden? I'm like, well, first of all, it's been 6 days. We've done a lot in 6 days, but it's going to take some time to fix what Joe Biden broke over 4 years. And we know it is easy, unfortunately, to burn the house down. It takes a little bit of time to build it back up. And here's what we have to do. Because look, the fundamental goal of our immigration policy, of our border policy, of DOGE saving taxpayer money, the fundamental goal is we want your children and grandchildren to be able to raise a family in security and comfort in the country that we all love. That is the whole goal of President Trump's agenda.
There you go. He's basically saying the same thing I'm saying to you for how long now? Now, understand something. You know, JD and myself were both talking about burning down a house and building it back up. Remember, this isn't a house. We're talking about a country. We have so many different areas that we have to burn down and build back up, whether it's government fraud, these agencies being riddled with bureaucrats, whether it's stopping wars over in Ukraine and Russia, protecting our border, lowering taxes, giving better health benefits to Americans. There's so many different things that this administration has to do, and it's going to take some time. But make no mistake, Donald J. Trump has the will to do it. And he's going to do it. And he's got the right soldiers in place. One of those right soldiers is Stephen Miller. For the next minute and a half, I want you to listen to this man. And you ask yourself while you're listening to him and you hear the passion and the fire in his voice, is the Trump administration going to really make America great again? Or should we believe E.T. and that the polls say that this man is about to collapse? Play the video.
It is true that many of the people in this room for 4 years failed to cover the fact that Joe Biden was mentally incompetent and was not running the country. It is also true that many people in this room who have used this talking point that Elon is not elected fail to understand how government works. So I'm glad for the opportunity for a brief civics lesson. A president is elected by the whole American people. He's the only official in the entire government that is elected by the entire nation, right? Judges are appointed, members of Congress are elected at the district or state level, just one man. And the Constitution, Article 2, has a clause known as the vesting clause, and it says the executive power shall be vested in a president, singular. The whole will of democracy is imbued into the elected president. That president then appoints staff to then impose that democratic will onto the government. The threat to democracy, indeed the existential threat to democracy, is the unelected bureaucracy of lifetime tenured civil servants who believe they answer to no one, who believe they can do whatever they want without consequence, who believe they can set their own agenda no matter what Americans vote for. So Americans vote for radical FBI reform, and FBI agents say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote for radical reform on our energy policies that EPA bureaucrats say they don't want to change. Or Americans vote to end DEI, racist DEI policies, and lawyers at the Department of Justice say they don't want to change. What President Trump is doing is he is removing federal bureaucrats who are defying democracy by failing to implement his lawful orders, which are the will of the whole American people.
There you go. I mean, you couldn't get a better explanation than what he just presented there, right there. Now, for all intents and purposes, Donald J. Trump is focused on the goal of making America great again. Remember that. And all countries around the world are watching him do it. We have always been the shining city on the hill, even when we're looking at the city on the hill and saying, my God, this looks bad. but we still are the best country. When you've got somebody like the UK, a country like the UK, who has completely lost its way, which many people will tell you, J.D. Vance, one of them, that they will be the first Islamic country to have a nuclear weapon, right? Think about that. That somebody could actually say that because they've lost their soul. Well, the Democrats know and hear how it is that the people of the UK are now saying, make the UK great again, make Britain great again. Here is the words from one of the leaders from the UK saying, we're looking at the US and saying, how do we model the UK to get back to greatness? Play it.
And we look across the Atlantic with envy. We see President Trump in the Oval Office signing off executive orders, and we want some of that in Britain. We want drill, baby, drill. We want men banned from women's bathrooms and women's sports. We want illegal immigrants deported. We want taxes to be cut. We want a Trump revolution in Britain. We want to flood the zone. We want Elon and his nerd army of muskrats examining the British deep state.
Okay, so now let's take everything that I've presented to you here and put it all into one big, huge bucket. You're hearing all this. You're a Democrat. You're seeing all this. You can't believe the way that Trump is getting things done, albeit through executive orders, and how it is that the Republicans, or most of them anyway, are all coalescing against him. You see that Kash Patel is now going to be the FBI head. And you're like, okay, this guy is not a political duck. This guy is a warrior. He's coming in and he's going to be going after everybody. And we're going to talk about that in a few seconds. So think about if you're one of those Democrats and you're looking at this right now. Think of your E.T., old E.T., James Carville. What are you going to do? The only way you can fight back is you start creating this narrative that says that everything Trump is doing is chaotic and it's not working. And I'm seeing this because we're in the news business every day. We talked about it yesterday on the show. Axios putting out the fact that this is Trump 2.0 is just still as chaotic as ever. It's just a little bit more controlled. There's no chaos. The only thing that feels chaotic is if you're a Democrat. Now, one of the worst Democrats that's out there right now is a woman named Jasmine Crockett. My boys can't stand her. I prefer not even to play a video of her. But at the end of the day, this is a program and we have to give you what's out there. This woman has the audacity to tell people that Trump is basically slime. He's useless. And that you wouldn't like to have, you don't really need a $5,000 dividend from the U.S. government who has been stealing your money. Where this messaging comes from these morons, I have no idea. But here you go. Play it.
Now, President Trump says he likes the idea of giving some of the savings from Doge back to Americans as kind of a dividend. Would you support that?
Listen, he's just telling a lie. He's not the one that had anything to do with the $1,200 refunds that people had during the midst of COVID that was done by a Democratic House and Democratic Senate. Right now, what they're going to do is say, hey, we want to give you a refund, but Congress won't let us because they already know that there's just no money for that. The only reason that those refunds came before was because we were living in different times. This was a time in which hopefully we won't ever go through again. We had a once in a lifetime pandemic. The bad part is that I don't know if it's once in a lifetime because we know that Ebola, unfortunately, was detected right here in New York here recently. And if we continue down this road of getting rid of scientists or deciding that we don't want to rely on experts as it relates to what they're telling us to do, or we don't want to deal with vaccines and medicine in this country, then we may be facing not only our next pandemic, but our next 2, 3, or 4 pandemics because of their incompetence. So no, we are not in the business of giving out money. And honestly, I don't know what $5,000 will do for you.
That woman right there is a perfect example. She's the poster child of how horrible our school systems have become. You can't get more stupid than that. That is just plain stupidity right there. She's also a poster child for how the inner cities are basically raising children who don't have a clue. So $5,000, really won't do anything for you, I can tell you right now, if I had $5,000 in my pocket, there's a lot of things that I would be able to do with it that right now I don't want to have to pay from my savings. And what about people who have no savings because they've been spending 3 times the amount on eggs and chicken and insurance than they ever were before because Joe Biden just ramped everything up with his inflation? What kind of stupid person says that? Imagine if you're somebody who voted for her and you're sitting there barely able to make ends meet and rent, and you've got your representative on television telling you that you don't really need $5,000. And then on top of that, calling out about how there's going to be another 3, 4, 5 pandemics. Listen, we didn't have a COVID pandemic. There was no pandemic. What it was a media fiasco. That's what it was. It was a flu. That's what it was. It was not a pandemic. If it was anything, it was a plandemic. So let's think about that for 1 second. Because historically, Donald J. Trump wouldn't get the black vote. He wouldn't get the Latino vote. These people historically would always vote for Democrats. But in this last election, Donald J. Trump got more blacks, got more Latinos more Asians than anybody thought he was going to. So imagine being a black man or a black woman, hearing your own representative tell you that you don't need $5,000. And then you got to ask yourself, did you ever see Joe Biden or Kamala Harris celebrate Black History Month in the way that Donald J. Trump is? Donald J. Trump yesterday had this unbelievably beautiful ceremony with all these black leaders all coming in from all over the place, treating these people, not like black people. You remember what Joe Biden told you? That if you voted for Trump, you really weren't black? You never hear anything like that out of Trump's mouth, ever. Here's what you hear out of Trump's mouth when it comes to talking about the African-American citizens in this country. Play it.
And I want to thank all of you very much for being here. Welcome to the White House, and we proudly celebrate Black History Month. How are you, darling? Today we pay tribute to the generations of black legends, champions, warriors, and patriots who helped drive our country forward to greatness. And you really are great people. What a great, nice group of... I have some people in front of me every once in a while with all the problems that are caused all over the world. They're not nice. They're not nice. And but we're making them nice, I can tell you that, and we're making them nice rapidly. So we're pleased to be joined in this really beautiful afternoon at the White House by hundreds of incredible members of the African American community.
So there you go. There you go. It puts it all together. He is America's president. He doesn't matter to him what you look like. He is your president, and he is going to make America great again. And the Democrats are in a panic. Now, another reason why they're in a panic, I go back to Kash Patel. Kash Patel yesterday was basically voted in to be the next FBI director. And there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be in his crosshairs. 2 people who I wrote about today in the 47 Report. Go to 47report.com to become a subscriber for free. 2 people who should really be worrying is Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff. If you're Nancy Pelosi, you've been accused countless times of insider trading. Now, somebody said to me, I don't understand. What does that mean, the insider trading? That means that Nancy Pelosi basically knows what's going to be happening in different industries before it happens, either through the passage of laws or through the rejection of laws. And therefore, she goes home and she tells her husband, who's in that business, oh, by the way, maybe we should buy NVIDIA stock because, we're going to be putting a lot of money. The government's going to be putting a lot of money into AI development. Bing, bing, bing. They buy the stock. Before you know it, 6 months later, all the information comes out and the money is doubled. This is what she has been accused of time and time again. So let me tell you something. In general, any person in Congress should be looked at for that. But when you sit there and rip up the president's speech during the State of the Union on national television, and that goes around the world, and when you let J6 boil over on purpose, if you think you're just going to get a pass on that when Kash Patel is in office, you're dead wrong. And if you're Adam Schiff and you think that you could keep on spreading fake news about a guy and then be part of applications that are bogus, like the Pfizer applications, and thinking that you're going to impeach this guy based on Russiagate, which was a complete lie. If you think you're going to be able to say all the things you said on national television about Trump, his family, and his administration, and then you're just going to get away with it, you really got another thing coming. Here's Adam Schiff yesterday, basically shaking in his boots, trying to say about how it is that Kash Patel and the whole thing, what's happening here with Trump, is a basic. Well, I'll let him speak for himself. Go, Ryan.
This is someone we cannot trust. This is someone who lacks the character to do this job, someone who lacks the integrity to do this job. We know that. Our Republican colleagues know that. The only qualification Kash Patel has to be FBI director is that when everyone else in the first Trump administration said, no, I won't do that, that crosses moral, ethical, and legal lines, Kash Patel said, sign me up. In the first Trump administration, as we are seeing in the second, you rise to the level of your sycophancy, and no one is a bigger or more dangerous sycophant than Kash Patel. This political hack does not deserve to be in this building. He can't do the job. He won't protect the public. He will misuse the resources of the Bureau. He will weaponize it against the president's political opponents rather than protecting the safety, the public safety of the American people.
Yeah, we had Ryan cut it a little short just because I can't take listening to that man. I'm not a fan of a lot of people in Congress, but I think this man really takes the crown as the worst one to ever represent California or this country. I mean, Elon Musk even tweeted that video saying he's a criminal. Kash Patel has even said that Schiff is the worst criminal in Congress in the last 250 years. I mean, all Schiff has done is lied about everything regarding Trump and that he's this disinformation agent for Russia, and all he clings to at this point is January 6th, and it's a dead and done event. You know, it's ridiculous. We need the accountability back, and I really hope Schiff gets what's coming to him.
Well, Dennis, listen, there's going to be a lot of people on the list. I wrote this today in the 47 report. I'm just going to read out a couple of people's names who I think will be on Kash Patel's short list, if you will. I think he's going to start looking into Obama. I think he's going to look into the Clintons. I think Jim Acosta should start looking over his shoulder. Alec Baldwin, Robert De Niro, Michael Cohen, AG, Miss Letitia James, Joe Biden, and that little tiny man, if you want to even call him that, the little boy, Anthony Scaramucci. I mean, this is just a little tiny list. These people are shaking in their boots. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to discredit everything that Trump is doing, saying that polls are down. And the only reason why you would do that is because you want to try to get Trump off his agenda. And it ain't going to work, Denny.
No, it's not. I mean, everyone that he's bringing in, Trump, I mean, everyone he's bringing in is honestly an A+ all-star. So I think Kash Patel is going to reform the agency, and him working hand in hand with Pam Bondi is going to be fantastic too, where you can actually get maybe some accountability in the Justice Department and the FBI.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The only person better than Kash Patel is a woman on Facebook named Maggie O'Leary, who just said, Dennis, I've followed you for years and you look younger every time I see you. I think I love Maggie. Maggie, reach out to me. In case I ever get divorced, I'm going to need a new wife. But anyway, getting to some of the information that we posted on the 47 report, because there was this is one of those mornings where every report is unbelievable that we do, but the stuff that we put out here today was just, the news is just all over the place. First of all, if you didn't hear, there was terror attacks in Tel Aviv yesterday, and these Hamas slime, who will take a family and parade them around dead. And that's exactly, we're not even going to play the video here because it's just so atrocious. And so reportedly what Trump is saying, this was reported by Israeli television, that Trump is saying we should just get rid of Gaza. And I got to tell you something, I'm 100% behind that, because you're never, ever, ever going to change these people in their ideology. The only thing that will make Hamas happy is if Israel is dead. And that is a poison. And so I'm 100% behind Trump, whatever he wants to do. I don't want to go to war as a country, but if he thinks that the best thing for us to do for having peace, not only in the Middle East, but ultimately here in the United States, is to wipe out Gaza, let's get in there and let's do it.
You know, keep it on that international front. I had read the report because it's in 47 report, but I know we've touched about it all week. Obviously, a very big contentious thing here is what to do with Zelensky. The man at this point is kind of going on a two-faced approach with Trump. Tells Trump one thing, but then tells his Ukrainian, European constituents another. And he canceled or postponed his trip to Saudi Arabia in regards to the discussions of ending the war. I think we're getting to a point here where not only can he not be taken seriously, and you gave a great monologue yesterday about the kind of man Zelensky is, but I think it's to the point where we can't even just shut them out of negotiations. We just gotta cut everything off to them.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I go back to the crux of this entire program here. The left and James Carville, better known as ET, all of these people are going to be pushing back against what Trump is trying to do. And that very thing right there, that pushback, is how you should feel very good about what Trump is doing. Because if the left is screaming about it, it means that it's smart play. And that's a smart play. I'll give you another example, 47 report right from it. I'm going to read right from it. The Trump administration plans to end temporary protected status for Haitian immigrants who arrived under Biden. Up to 500,000 of those Haitians, including those who entered here illegally, will lose deportation protections and work permits in August. This is huge because if you take a look at the people who are coming into this country, the ones who are the most violent, the ones who are the most unhinged are the Haitians. And we were giving these people a free pass into this country. And what Trump is saying is, there's 500,000 of you here that we know about. You're all going back to Haiti. And that's what we need. That's what Americans want. I defy you to go up to any American who doesn't paint their hair pink or put, earrings in their eyelids and ask them whether or not they think it's good that we have people coming from third world Haiti just coming in here for free and taking American jobs. See what they do. We've got Haitians working in the post office here where we are. Let me tell you something. You want to see the most rude, the most incompetent people ever with an attitude? Come to the post office with us. We'll show it to you. We'll show it to you right there.
Just on some more deportation and roundup news. So ICE air operations transported 177 Venezuelan illegal aliens from Guantanamo Bay to Honduras to have an official pickup by the Venezuelan government.
There you go. And remember this. Venezuela originally did not take back their illegal aliens. And then finally Trump said, "Oh, really? You're not going to take them back? I'm going to destroy your economy." Now, not only are they taking them back, but they're paying for it. So there you go. All these people, all these Democrats that told you that it was going to cost billions and billions of dollars to get rid of these people, I've told you for years, no, it may cost a couple of bucks to get rid of them originally, but if we held tariffs over their head, they would take their people back on their own. This is exactly what's happening. People are self-deporting, and we are going to save ourselves gargantuan amount of money, and maybe it will come out that you won't get $5,000. Maybe you'll actually get $10,000. And then on top of that, another thing that's very important to say is that Interior Secretary Doug Burgum made an announcement that he's been talking to Trump and that Trump is speaking to him not only about the Keystone XL pipeline, but to get other pipelines going. So this way, this country could go back to being independent when it comes to energy. Not only will we have plenty of energy, we won't have to buy energy from around the world anymore at these crazy spiked up prices, but we'll go back to selling our energy around the world and having more money come into our coffers.
Do you want to, we were just saying it earlier, and I meant to say it as a joke, but you know what else is causing $100 billion? Go
ahead.
The California high-speed rail project. You know what doesn't exist? The California high-speed rail project. It's been a project that's been going on decades now. $100 billion put into it, nothing to show for it. And Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, kind of made a show of it yesterday. Like, where is this money going?
Yeah.
Nothing's been built.
So, right. But now what they're going to do is they're going to launch an investigation into that. That's the perfect thing. See, the same way, and this is where the Trump administration is being brilliant right now. And this is why you have E.T. Carville saying to you that there's going to be a collapse. What collapse? Trump's going to collapse? Where's the collapse coming? What did we just do? We looked at New York City and New York and said, wait, you're charging $9 for people to go into a city? You're not going to do it. Trump says, no, I'm putting the money back into the pocket of the person of New York. This is a state that didn't even vote for him. California, they didn't vote for Trump. They vote for all the radical lefties. But $100 billion, and where's the rail system? 10 years late, where is it? $100 billion. Now there's going to be an investigation going on. It's not fair to the California people, and that's why Democrats are going bat crazy, because they see that Trump is ignoring the fact that the lefty states didn't vote for him, because he knows I'm going to wind up attracting these people. You get more bees with honey than you do with tar paper. Right? So what's he doing? He's not holding a grudge against the lefties. He's going in and saying, hey, I'm going to save your state from these horrible people and maybe even from yourself. Sit back, watch what we do. You'll have more money in your pocket, and then you'll get the services that you have been apparently paying for. People are going to appreciate this. He is going to, you want to talk about polls? Maybe he's going down a point or two in polls, because polls are not only crooked, but if you will, the honeymoon period is over. It happens all the time. When somebody announces that they're running for president, instantaneously they're on television, so their poll numbers go up. And then after that dies off, the numbers go back down. You wait to see 8-9 months from now, when we're all collecting money and our country is back on a great path, how his polling numbers are looking.
And look, it's notable to be okay when you want to disagree with him on stuff. We disagree with things Trump does all the time. I mean, I'll give an example. We had it in the 47 report, and it's a disagreement that could just be, civil. Trump kind of gave a flagship endorsement to Byron Donalds about the idea of him running for governor. I'm not too surprised too, because as soon as Donalds didn't get a cabinet position, it kind of, was the red light of like, okay, maybe they're lining him up for governorship. And, I know there's been talks too about maybe that's where Matt Gaetz is going to go, which, again, a little bit of a more surprising output there, what's going to be the take. But I've also seen the rumblings about Casey DeSantis. And out of those three people, she would just get my vote because I have the bias with Ron. So, there's going to be times where Trump will give endorsements or do certain things where we don't agree with. Look, yesterday he did an intro with the Pfizer boss. He said, great guy, and people booed, people didn't like that. So, there's going to be times where you shouldn't listen to us if all we ever do is agree with Trump, then that ruins we want to point out his wins, and we want to point out maybe where we don't see eye to eye. So I like Byron Donalds. I'd be okay with him being governor, but if I had to choose between those options, I think my vote goes to a Casey DeSantis, sort of say.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Trump is trying to do in that particular spot there is he's trying to show some level of loyalty. And yes, that's why it is that Byron did not get a spot in the administration, because he said, hey, I don't want to take a spot when I know that I'm going to ultimately run for governor. Okay, fine. And Byron has been very, very loyal to Trump. And from a political standpoint, Trump always loves to show the loyalty back, reciprocal. And so I'm not surprised that that's what he does. And yes, of course, Trump is going to say things and do things sometimes that you sit there and say, what did he say? But ultimately, when you look at it, nobody walks on water. Nobody's perfect. But if Trump winds up getting 8 or 9 wins out of 10 games, we're going to be much better, because you know what we've been getting? 0 wins out of 10 games with the Democrats. And that not only goes on a national level, but that goes across the entire frigging state, city, town, whatever it is you want to talk about. The Democrats have destroyed everything that they've ever put their finger on. Now, with that said, we also have Republicans who need to be cleaned out. And one of the big news items yesterday was that Senator Mitch McConnell is going to finish out his term, and he's finally going to retire. I mean, I don't know how many times this guy had to fall down and look like, a deer in headlight, not being able to remember what he was supposed to say, but he's going to be gone. And that's great. Next up should be Lindsey Graham. I mean, we've got a bunch of people in the Republican Party who might as well just be Democrats. They don't say it, but they hate Trump. Two of them, Miss Collins and Miss Murkowski, who both voted against Kash Patel yesterday, right? I mean, how dare you? How dare you vote against him? Why these women continue to do it, and why it is that they continue to vote for these two in those 2 states are beyond me. But somebody else who wound up getting confirmed yesterday was Kelly Loeffler. She's the former Georgia senator, and she is now going to head the Small Business Administration. She got in with 52 to 46 Senate votes, so obviously she had a little bit more love on her side than Kash. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter that she got in 52 to 46 and he got in from 51 to 49. It doesn't matter what the number is. All you need is one number, okay? There's no pictures on the scorecard. It doesn't matter. He came away winning. Kash Patel is in, and that is that.
Some other, I know we're on the Congress section, but you remember Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman?
Of course.
Members of the squad.
They're gone.
Yeah. Well, now they're running a YouTube show to try and promote. This is where you can see that the Democrats are really in dire straits.
They're falling hard, man. They're falling hard. The one thing about the Democrat Party that I think is something that people should recognize, and Carville didn't say it last night, and I wish Hannity would have asked the question. There is absolutely no person in the Democrat Party right now who looks like they could emerge as the next leader. Nobody. Who are you going to look at? Klobuchar over in Minnesota? She tried that already. Nobody cared. Cory Booker? Nobody cared. Gavin
the
Newsom?
best bet was
Forget
Newsom, and Newsom just literally burned his chances, no pun intended.
Yeah, of course he did. So they have nobody. Not only do they not have a message, the message of that Crockett telling you that you don't need $5,000, but they don't even have a messenger to get out the message. They are just imploding, and it's so fun to see. And, it's funny because these Democrats never learn their lesson, and they let their ideology just destroy them. This is one reason why, if you look at late night television or the late night shows, right? The Media Research Center is a place, I've done stuff with them before in the past. They focus in directly on keeping the mainstream media accountable. Take a look at this one. This was in the 47 report today under the crazy left section. Since Trump took office, he has been the target of 761 jokes on late night. And yet at the same point in time in 2021, Joe Biden only had 88 jokes against him. And you ask yourself, who gives you more content to joke over, Biden or Trump?
I was just saying, those jokes were probably soft on Biden.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it just shows who the real joke is, which is the late night television hosts. I would love to see that era come to an end. They serve no purpose at this point other than the left propaganda. They're not even funny. I know your era. They were actually like, you tuned in, you got a good laugh, you went to bed. Same with old SNL. It's a shame that that concept is so far removed now.
I'll tell you what, you look at the messages right now on Rumble and on Facebook when I say what I'm about to say. How much does everybody miss the nights of Johnny Carson? Johnny Carson was late night television. Even Jay Leno. Jay Leno was no Carson, but Johnny Carson, man. In fact, I think we got Johnny Carson up here on the wall. We do. Johnny Carson proves refreshingly human. First time that he was ever, presented to anybody. We got I don't think you could see it on there, but it's a headline on there. No, it doesn't matter. But I have it on there because Johnny Carson basically defined what late night television was. And instead, what these network heads have done, instead of taking the Johnny Carson blueprint and replicating it, what they did was they took the CNN script and tried to make it funny at nighttime. And it's just not funny.
It's not. No, I was never a fan of Jon Stewart, but at least he had like a zinger joke every once in a while. And then they put in Trevor Noah, and it's like, okay, we see what you're really trying to do here. But it just goes to show that their era, their type of messaging is over. I mean, you can kind of see it even with I know CPAC is this week, and even I have some of my own issues with CPAC. But the whole premise of it is, okay, how are we going to fix America? But also, how do we make it like fun and enjoyable and like that approachableness to want to fix America, because that's always been an issue on the Republican side, is how to get that messaging to make it seem like it's a little more fresh.
Absolutely. And then one other thing to talk about, which we kind of skipped over, and I want to bring this up now. We spoke yesterday about how it is that the State Department had basically eight different organizations have now been cartels, have been signed on as terrorists. So the government now has put them in the terror group. You are now officially marked as a terrorist group. I told you, this had to be about 2 weeks ago, that when that happened, that the Mexican government was going to fight back against it. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? Because if you are the president of Mexico and you know that you've got organized crime, right? You would want to get rid of that organized crime, unless, of course, you're a part of it, or unless, of course, you are basically, strangled by it. I'll put this into even lighter terms because there's no comparison here. Imagine if John Gotti was still alive and the mafia was what it was when Gotti was Gotti. Imagine if Trump said, if you say that John Gotti is, the mafia, well, we're going to have a problem. You're like, why? Why are you protecting these people? So Trump didn't care because she actually said, I think it was a week ago, if you mark the cartels as terrorist groups, we are going to start suing gun manufacturers in the United States. And I guess that explanation is it's your guns that are funding, or I should say, are empowering our cartels, which is just ridiculous on its own. But she, doing exactly as I predicted, she now is saying that her government are taking steps to protect the sovereignty of Mexico because the cartels are being targeted as terrorists. How does that equate?
It's annoying. And let me tell you, if I wasn't as punch drunk tired as you, I think I could go on a very curse-laden rant about the concept of how we fund and make and manufacture these weapons for our benefit to actually protect our sovereignty. And yet hearing that they are being sold to Ukraine for then Ukraine to then shuffle them over to the Mexican cartels and probably, Middle Eastern proxies, there's nothing more infuriating in my mind than watching our weapons and military equipment quite literally be given over to the enemy's hands. I mean, that is, I don't know how you mark that higher than treasonous, in my opinion. I mean, even Trump, what's one of Trump's biggest things he always talks about? Mark Milley being the one to try and infer or recommend that we leave all of our equipment in Afghanistan because it's just easier that way. No, this is stuff we made. This is stuff that's ours. Bring it back. Who cares if the cost might be a little bit higher? The cost in the long run is that one of our tanks or one of our Humvees or one of our weapons isn't used on one of our own soldiers. How do you answer for that? Or when a Border Patrol agent shot and you learn, oh, actually, that assault rifle that we had handed over, made its way back and it was used against our Border Patrol. It's I would love to see the end of that where our own weapons aren't being used against us.
Yeah. I'd like to see that same sort of sentiment you just said to be carried on here in the United States where our courts and the law isn't being used against us. I'll give you a headline. The thing about the 47 report, a couple of interesting things here as we start to wind down the show. Very interesting things. So hold on and listen to what I'm about to say. But, the 47 report focuses completely on everything Trump administration and everything circled around it. We made a choice not to break out into other news. I mean, we could have a newsletter that's 5 miles long. But a lot of times these news items are an indication of how broken the United States is. And it doesn't need to be fixed on a DC level. It has to be fixed on a local level. I'm going to give you a headline right here. Just came across my desk 2 seconds ago. A man named Ernst Delma, a violent career criminal who brutally attacked a female NYPD cop, then walked free after beating that cop. And the picture of the cop, it's a female. She's down on the ground. She's bleeding after this big, huge man beat on her. He was able to walk free after a guy named Judge Brenda Rivera slashed his bail. They let him go. Beat a cop? No problem. Go ahead. Well, now he's just been arrested again for randomly assaulting a woman in Times Square. This is what I'm talking about. We have switched in many different aspects of our country the meaning of words, right? Somehow Trump, who celebrates Black History Month with all these people, is a racist, right? Trump wants to close the borders. He's a racist. He wants to tag the cartels as terrorist organizations. He's a racist. How does that happen? Some boy who can't make it in the boys' field of play is going to go over now and play in the girls, and he's going to change his name from Daniel to Danielle, and we allow that to happen? We've taken criminals and made them the victims, and taken victims and made them the criminals. And this is why I come back and say, you cannot take somebody like James Carville seriously. He's in a panic. And when you're in a panic, you lie and you'll say anything to get out of that corner. And that is what's happening right in front of our noses.
There is this little part of me that feels bad for him because to that extent, right, he has been a Democrat strategist for so long. I mean, long, you could just tell. And it must be heartbreaking if you're that true blue Democrat and you watch your party become an absolute woke freak show. Not that the Democrats ever had their act together, but watching what the Democrat Party was in 2004 compared to 2024, I'm sure probably drives Carville mad at night.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, with that being said, a couple of things that you need to know. It's Friday, right? So I started a new program. That's the coffee mug right here, Life After 50. If you want a little bit of a break from the news and the politics, I give it to you on the weekends. So I take somebody who's 50 or over, has an incredible story. It's a person you've never heard of before, never met. We sit down, we talk about everything. We've talked about God and church. We've talked about health and holistic health. We've talked about coming over cancer. We've talked about the real estate. I just had a woman on. She went from 4 years being dead broke and divorced to being a multimillionaire in the real estate industry. I mean, we're talking about it all. I have one tomorrow that is probably the best interview I've ever done in 20 years. I interview a gentleman who is an immigrant from Ghana. And when you hear this man's legal story, it is earth-shattering. So the best way to get that, go to 47report.com if you haven't already. 47report.com. Ryan, throw on the big screen here so they can see what I'm talking about. 47report.com. It's going to look just like that. You go there, you put your email address in, you hit submit, it comes to us. You're automatically on the list. There's nothing else you're going to have to do. We send you a confirmation email. It just says, hey, what's going on? The one thing you have to look for is if you don't see it the next morning, look in your spam folder and drag it over. Tomorrow, we'll have a link to that interview so you can watch that interview. I am telling you, it's one of those, it's a 2-hour and 15-minute interview, and you're going to listen to it. You're going to be like, my God, that just flew by. I can't believe this man's story. It is incredible. Think about it. I've been in immigration for 20 years. And I'm telling you, this is the greatest immigration story I've ever heard in my life, so you don't want to miss it. Now, in addition to that, if you're getting the 47 report every single morning, just want to tell you what's coming up. This Sunday, we will start to launch the Make America Healthy Again version of the 47 report. So I've been doing op-eds on Sundays, and now we're going to change it to that's going to be the MAHA report, where we're going to focus in on the health and wellness based on RFK Jr.'s agenda and Trump's agenda on getting everybody healthy. And in addition to that, you are going to wind up getting reports on these dirty, crooked food and drug companies and what it is they're doing, how it is that they're poisoning us. I mean, this is going to be that Sunday read where you're just going to say, oh my God, I can't believe this stuff is going on, and you share it with everybody. We have a program right there in the 47 report where you share it. And when you share it, we can calculate if somebody's coming in off your share, and we're starting to give away free gifts. We got a thing right now. You get 2 people come in. We got a 47 report coaster. We send you a free coaster. We're adding gifts as we go. The reason why we're doing this is because we know that the key to winning the midterms and 4 years from now and for the rest of this country's life is if the message is given by the right messenger. And we know the right message is what Trump is putting out, and we want to be part of that messaging group. And we think we do it better than anybody else. Now, the other thing I'm adding on to this is starting next week. I'm not sure what day. I got to talk to Ryan about this. But we will be adding a early evening newsletter that I write directly from me, my op-ed on one item of the day. Definitely going to put it out there for you on what's going on and how I look at it, and a couple other little news items like you just saw about this guy that I just told you in New York City, things that you would have wanted to know about, but nobody else is covering. So with that being said, you'll wind up getting 2 newsletters from us every single day. One, the 47 report, and then completely separate is the DML report. Those 2 things. So please go to 47report.com, sign up. And if you have already and you haven't seen it in your inbox, I'm telling you, search for Mr. Lynch, because that's the sender. It says Mr. Lynch. Mr. Lynch, you go in, you check it, take it from the spam and put it into the inbox. The last thing is we do the newsletter completely for free, completely 100% for free. So what we've done is we've created this little mug collection here. It says Life After 50 podcast. It says the best is yet to come. If you want to help us and support us, you could use the coupon code LIFE. Go to dmlcbd.com/mug, M-U-G, dmlcbd.com/mug, M-U-G. You'll get the same mug that I use here. It's a great mug. It says Life After 50 podcast. You put in the coupon code LIFE, and basically you're going to wind up saving yourself $2 and free shipping. So dmlcbd.com/mug and coupon code LIFE. Believe me when I tell you, we make a whopping $7 on each one of these coffee cups, but when it starts to add up, it helps us pay for the newsletter, because even though we do it for free, it doesn't cost us for free. The more people that we sign on, the more we have to pay. So we've been doing this out of the goodness of our heart. We want to continue to do it. And just for a simple price of a mug, you can help us. We appreciate your time today. We know there's a lot of people you could listen to, and the fact that you're listening to us and being with us means a lot. Hit the share button on Facebook, hit the share button on Rumble, hit the retweet button on X, and please come into us Monday to Friday every single time, 9:30 on the head, completely live. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. May God bless you, your family, these United States, the president, and the vice president.
Today's Team DML blessing goes out to Sherry Carrier.
All right, Sherry. Thank you so much for being a Team DML member. We'll talk to you soon.
Get the Dennis Michael Lynch podcast every day by subscribing on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and download the DML News app from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store for breaking news, merchandise, films, exclusive content, and Team DML.